Hello everyone, and welcome to our official 2019-2020 winter forecast. Before we get into the actual forecast, we do want to mention that our giveaway contest is still ongoing. You have till Monday, November 11th to enter. All you have to do is subscribe to our channel and then comment on any video that you have subscribed. The giveaway winner will win a $25 Visa gift card. Going into the official winter forecast here, we're going to start off with the state of the ENSO region. This will indicate whether we're going to see a La Nina or an El Nino this year, or possibly even neutral. And currently looking at the ENSO here, we are slightly positive, which would indicate either a neutral or El Nino type winter. As we advance this forward here, we're going to look at our temperature analogs and precipitation analogs. Analogs are simply years that resemble what we might expect for this upcoming winter. On the left here, you're looking at our temperature analogs. Obviously, the blue colors are indicating your cooler colors, while your yellow or oranges are indicating the warmer than average temperatures. The general idea is that our west coast regions are seeing warmer than average conditions for these analog years, while much of the central and eastern United States is seeing colder than average temperatures. For our precipitation analogs here, a lot of average conditions across much of the United States, with the exceptions being wetter than normal for our mid-Atlantic and southeastern states, as well as drier than normal conditions across the west coast.
Alright, getting into sea surface temperatures, let's take a look at our analog upper air setup. So as you can see here on the analogs, we do have a signal for a negative NAO and also an AO signaled by these deep heights extending down from southern Canada into the northern US and also over the western Europe area. With also we have a Pacific ridge out west, which would signify also a positive PNA, and some Greenland blocking over top as well, which also could be good for some long track storms this upcoming winter on the east coast. Now, does this make sense? What do we normally see in a neutral winter? So, typically colder than average conditions from the northern plains heading into the Great Lakes and also into the northeast, with warmer than normal conditions in the southern U.S. overall, and then an active subtropical jet stream feeding in some moisture into the southern U.S. and wetter than normal conditions in the southeast heading up into the mid-Atlantic. Let's look at current versus analog sea surface temperatures for November. As you can see, currently we do have an overwhelmingly warm Pacific Ocean and also warm East Coast. Now looking at our analogs for November, as you can see, we do have a warm West Pacific Ocean and then also a warm Atlantic Ocean, but PDO is around neutral on our analogs, which does make sense because that's about where it is right now. And then also as far as the ENSO, about just maybe 0.3 to 0.5 degrees above average, just in general for the sea surface temperatures, and especially in the central and west-based ENSO regions of 3.4 and 4 as well. Looking at our analog sea surface temperatures for December to March, it continues this general idea where we have a warm Pacific Ocean, which could help with some ridging out west and perhaps some troughing in the east, and also about neutral conditions in the ENSO region. As you can see, once again, a little bit of warmth in the central and west-based regions with perhaps just slightly below average sea surface temperatures close to South America, but as overall, a neutral ENSO in the analogs for December to March.
Another factor that we look at going into our winter forecast is recent temperature and precipitation trends for the last 15 years. We did remove the year of 2015-2016 just because that was a Super Nino. Generally speaking here, the core of the cold was focused over the upper Midwest, while much of the southern half of the United States did experience warmer than average conditions. For the precipitation, the bulk of the precipitation was focused around the Ohio Valley regions, and the southeastern United States as well as the west coast did experience at least a little less precipitation than average during those winter seasons. Now we're looking at some key takeaways here for this upcoming winter. The neutral ENSO is near certain as we're going forward here. Looking at our analogs, they do suggest the core of the cold is centered over the Great Lakes region and more Greenland blocking, which could result in some bigger storms this year. Greenland blocking helps slow down some storms, so instead of a 6 to 10 hour storm, you might be talking about a 12 or even 24-hour storm. And the trends suggest southeast ridging may be possible going forward into this winter. And here's just a monthly breakdown for this upcoming winter. Going into December, we do expect a warmer than average month for December. Now, we're not talking much above, but just slightly warmer than usual, with wetter conditions across the East Coast. Going into the January, we are looking at a cold eastern two-thirds of the U.S. and a very snowy East Coast. And going into February, generally the same story here, but the center of the snow will be focused over the Mid-Atlantic region more so than the other regions across the United States. And looking at March, we do expect a cooler than average March, but with about average precipitation, which going into that month could mean rain or snow.
Alright, now let's look at our temperature, precipitation, and snowfall outlooks for this upcoming winter. Starting off with temperatures, you can see in the north central plains heading into the western Great Lakes. That's our core of cold air for this upcoming winter, and that's where we expect below to well below average temperatures at points. Now, there will be times of above average temperatures, but we expected that to be relatively short-lasted compared to below average temperatures. So, slightly below average temperatures from the central U.S., from Omaha to St. Louis, heading over to Pittsburgh here in the interior northeast, excluding parts of Maine, as we do expect our average temperatures for those areas. And also average temperatures for Denver, Oklahoma City, and also heading into parts of North Carolina and also Virginia. Now, as we head into above average temperatures, we expect slightly above average temperatures in Seattle, Portland, portions of the Pacific Northwest, heading down the spine of the Rockies from Salt Lake City to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and down into the south central plains from Dallas over to Atlanta, including the Gulf Coast. Now, here's our area of well above average temperatures from California, Nevada, Arizona. It won't be too overwhelmingly above average, but we do, once again, expect now, in this case, more times of warmth and above average temperatures compared to below average temperatures. There could be some troughing in the west, here and there. We don't expect a winter where it's going to be entirely one way or another, just as usual. There will be some times just of the opposite. But overall, this is the temperature regime that we'll be looking at for this upcoming winter. Now jumping into precipitation, as you can see, right on the East Coast, 40% above average as far as precipitation. That is quite substantially above average from Mississippi to Alabama, heading up into the spine of the Appalachians into southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, much of the Mid-Atlantic, and then our slightly above average precipitation from southern New England, pretty much just outlining the area of 40%, heading down into the southeast. And now, all these areas that you don't see any color shade in, that's where we expect about average precipitation, but bad news for the snow lovers in the Midwest. We're looking at potentially some slightly drier conditions relative to normal from Oklahoma City to St. Louis to Chicago, and also heading into parts of the western Great Lakes from Wisconsin into Minnesota. Now, on the west coast, it could be a little bit more extreme as we do expect further below average precipitation, especially in far northern California and also right on the Pacific coast in Oregon and also Washington, with slightly below average precipitation from Seattle down into portions of central Washington, central Oregon, and also much of Northern California. Now, if you just skipped to this part of the video, welcome to the video. We get into the most important, well, for most of you, the most important part of the forecast. For me, it would probably be temperatures, but snowfall is always exciting, of course. So, we do have our area of 50% above average. Now, that is more substantial than you would think. So, if you average 50 inches of snow on a certain, typically for your winter, now we're looking at 75 inches. That's pretty above average. So that is our area from southern New England, heading down into southern PA, portions of West Virginia, most of West Virginia really, and also the western part of Virginia and extreme eastern Kentucky and Tennessee, with our slightly above average snowfall coming in at 25% above average from portions of the southern tier of New York, in the northern PA, southern Ohio, eastern Kentucky and eastern Tennessee, and also far northern Georgia in the southern part of the Appalachians. Now, slightly below average snowfall, unfortunately for you snow lovers out in the Midwest, from Chicago to Omaha into Minneapolis. We do expect that area to be very, very cold, and we don't see a very active storm track in that area just due to, that deep cold that should suppress storms a little bit to the south. Now, there will be some clippers, but for the most part, we're expecting drier than normal conditions, resulting in slightly below average snowfall. It's not too far, but we do expect it to be, noticeable. So West Coast is where we do expect it to be a little bit even more noticeable from the, especially the northern Sierra Nevada mountains. Heading into the Cascades, that's where we see 50% of average snowfall. So that is not good news for the ski resorts out there, as well as potentially the wildfire season next year. And then 25% below average snowfall in the southern Sierra Nevada mountains into Nevada, Utah, western Colorado, and heading up into the interior intermontane regions of the northwestern U.S. So that has been our official 2019-2020 winter forecast here at U.S. Weather Action. We will have numerous winter storm updates throughout the coming winter, starting now, as we do have even a potential this upcoming week. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you are interested in that type of content heading into the winter. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned for the latest.